In the past few decades, Nigeria has witnessed gruesome murders that are yet to be solved. The murder of Dele, Alfred, Rewane, Bola, Harry Marshall, and Bagauda Kalto are few examples. That of Kaltho, who was a correspondent with a news magazine, resurfaced a few days ago when a medical doctor, Mahdi Shehu, claimed that a parcel bomb from an American led to his death at Durbar Hotel in Kaduna. Mahdi has come under fire for making the statements, with many calling him a pathological liar. His dramatic antics during a trial over cybercrime and defamation in 2021 comes to mind. Let's remind you of what's that drama when the issue discussed on this program on the 23rd of March 2021. Many Nigerians are learning fast from the politicians the act of using theatrics to evade trial. Katsina-born whistleblower Mahdi Shehu appeared in court in crutches over false allegations against Governor Aminu Bello Masari. He was later caught on camera, police custody, walking around. Let's share some of the videos with you.
Bola, I beg small. Come like this. Come. So let me small. Sorry. Put it back. So I'm good. Should I carry you? So you can sit. If you don't stand, you cannot sit. You get? Right? Okay. Move the chair here. Sorry, don't touch your at the back. Oh, yeah.
Under the police custody, I was stung by a snake. Under the police custody, I have lost my weight. By waist, I have lost my neck. I have lost my legs. The intention is to kill me.
Them of stealing so much money. Now, when it comes to defending
prove the
your
evidence.
allegations, it becomes a problem for you. Can see him
Is the
leading
la-
prayers now, you know. So he claimed that the kind of money that he claimed that the government had stolen through the security vote, that state had never received that kind of money. When the secretary of government of the state
That's from Dr. Ino.
took him before the Sharia court, he stayed away. You can accuse people, but when it comes to
come and prove
We
it.
have to
see
go
you
and prove, yeah.
in court,
Substantiate your allegation.
you run away. He was given a bail. He jumped bail, and then the IG ordered his arrest. So he was then arrested and taken before a judge in Kano.
Okay.
It was in police custody. It was in police custody that these shots were taken. You know, and he never, even in his widest
He
dream,
never thought.
he never thought that. He thought that as far as he was concerned, there was this wall around him that will ensure that no one, the outside world, cannot see what he's doing. But as we have seen now, the secret camera recorded.
Was there a glass demarcating?
Yes,
Because
and
the person was
glass-
actually following him with the shots.
Yes,
you know
that glass.
It's not CCTV.
No, not CCTV. You know,
The person was recording him,
yeah,
moving.
the person was stealing the shot.
Okay.
He didn't know that by that glass that they could record from outside. So they were able to now record, show the world how dishonest he is. Because if you want the world to trust you,
As a whistleblower,
believe that you are a whistleblower,
You yourself must be clean.
Then
if you want to
you
come to
must
equity,
not
you come
you
with
must not demonstrate conduct that suggests to them that you are not trustworthy. You know, and if you accuse people of all kinds of crimes, then you should be able to defend these allegations. If you defame a person, you must be ready to defend yourself in court. And that was why the SGS, Dr. Mustafa Inua, took him before the Sharia court. He ran away. He refused to face the Sharia court. Federal High Court, he jumped bail. So this is the genesis of the thing. In some cases, you see documents that he parades. So those documents,
can't
the
prove
people signed those documents are people who had even left service. So it is not difficult to discover that those documents are fake and they are not real.
Meanwhile, lawyer to the Katsina
Okay.
State government insists that Mahdi Shehu has a case to answer over false accusations.
An irony. A businessman who is successful is being called a terrorist in a society, in a state that is being run by rogues who are rude and crude. They have no context, they have no context, they have no conscience. What they have is satanic verses in their chest, satanic verses in their hearts, satanic verses in their brain. All they understand is killing.
That was Dr. Mahdi Shehu. And Jide, after we did we did that particular report, Mahdi Shehu went to a TV station to talk about the late Bagauda Kalto. And I know from history, you guys had working relationship together in the same organization. And Dr. Mahdi Shehu is trying to sell another thing to the public entirely.
The question to ask is, who is Mahdi Shehu? Who really is Mahdi Shehu? Mahdi Shehu has been going from one TV station to another, sometimes purporting to even speak for the North. The average Northerner will be scandalized when Mahdi Shehu sits in a studio and parading himself like one of the spokespersons for the North. A practiced liar parading himself as someone who speaks for the North. Someone without a grain of integrity, parading himself as speaking for the North. Everything oozing out of Mahdi Shehu's mouth is falsehood. I've listened to him a number of times. I've never taken anything of value out of what Mahdi Shehu says. It's just lies upon lies. When somebody as old as this fellow lies in the manner that he lies, then it calls for concern. Mahdi Shehu will go back to what he did in Katsina. Mahdi Shehu did a petition against the Katsina state government. In that petition, he actually came up with a table saying this amount moved on this day, this one moved on that day. A table full of lies. And they had no choice but to say, how do you defame people in this manner? They then decided that they were going to take him to court, the Federal High Court as well as the Sharia Court. It was Dr. Mustafa Inua that took him to the Sharia Court. He's the principal witness. He's been sending people now to beg Mustafa Inua to agree for the case to be discontinued. And Mustafa Inua says, no, I will not discontinue this matter. Now, going into specifics, he said that the Katsina state government spent some billions in 2018 on COVID-19, whereas COVID-19 actually began. On that table that I submitted to the EFCC, COVID-19 actually began in 2020. In fact, Nigeria went into a lockdown in March 2020. But this talented liar is telling us that in 2018, Katsina state government spent billions of money on COVID. He also claimed that they spent 49 million naira to purchase phones. The government purchased Nokia 3310 for the ESCO members. He claimed that they purchased it for the Security Council members in the state, but they were actually members of the ESCO, the commissioners, the SAs, and the rest of them. You know, with the 3310, chances are that you can't bug their lines. The government spent 2.1 million on those phones. He claimed that they spent 49 million naira. Mahdi Shehu, in the nonsensical table that he drew up, also claimed that Katsina state government spent about 74 billion on security. He claimed that the money was constantly being moved from what he called the security escrow account of the state. And he claimed that the money was domiciled in two banks, UBA and Fidelity Bank. The state government does not have a security account in UBA and Fidelity Bank. The account is actually with First Bank. And In 7 years, Katsina State government has spent only 7 billion on security. That includes allowances to security operatives and all that, which all states do. 7 billion. Mahdi Shehu came up with 74 billion. Look at the difference. So if we even go to, it has a background. A fellow who has made this kind of, I won't say made a name for himself. It's not, even with all this, he's still not famous in our country, still largely insignificant. But a person who is already ill-reputed, that's the word that I'll go for, ill-reputed for lying through his teeth. You need to read the response of Mahmoud Jega to his claim about Bagauda Kalto. You need to read what Owela Kimfa wrote. They effectively debunked his lies about Bagauda Kalto. And for someone who does not have an atom of integrity, it is not difficult to know that he just went. He claimed that when Bagauda was the person bombed, and that he went to Lawa Jafar Isa, the former military administrator of Kaduna State, to report. He said it was in Lawa's presence that he told the then president, the then head of state, Abacha. He also claimed that he told the then minister of agriculture, Adamuchi Roma. The only person alive amongst those persons is Lawa Jafar Isa. And Lawa Jafar Isa has come out to say he does not remember this person discussing that matter with him. So what stands to gain by just going around lying is what I fail to understand. You have not cleared yourself about what happened. Your matter with Katsina, you've not even cleared yourself. You are running from pillar to post, begging that the case should be withdrawn. Now you are still going to TV stations to lie about things that you don't know.
Larry, what do we know about the mysterious death of Bagauda? Because if this person is trying to rewrite history now, as at that time, you were part of the whole, and as a journalist, practicing journalist that time, what was the last thing you heard about Bagauda?
Well, when I, read this man's interview and all that he said, the first question that came to my mind was, where is this man coming from? Where has he been, all along? Because we're talking of an incident that occurred, in 1996. And of course, I agree with my, brother and colleague there, Jide, that in a normal society, you don't just give unnecessary, space for a person like this to just, throw lies around. And watching the, the repeat of that documentary that you did on him, I'm just wondering whether he actually does not need some form of, psychiatric, test.
Is it fit enough to
Whether,
talk to make,
because,
to make this allegation?
But you also know that. But you also know that, we the Yorubas also have a proverb, or the Yoruba have a proverb that says that the water skater does not just dance on the surface of the water. This thing said that dances on the surface of the water, go around at this. We call it lami lami. And the elders say that there is something beneath the dead that is drumming for it. And that is why we have to take this seriously, because otherwise we could just say this is just, this is a comedian. We should probably go and look for some comic streets to ignore, but we can't ignore him. I have a feeling that he's probably speaking, for some people who had been alleged to be involved in this, and then they are trying to cause confusion. In 1996, when this incident happened, I was the chairman of the Lagos State Council of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. And it was one of the cases that we took up to the level of the international community, up to the level of the Committee to Protect Journalists, up to the level of the International Federation of Journalists, demanding that the mystery must be unraveled as far as his death was concerned. Not only him, before then we had had Dele, Giwa, and then we had also had other journalists. It was something that jolted not just the Nigerian media community, but the international community. Like I said,
You have to
Committee to
even name the
Protect
president
Journalists,
and
all
allow
of
sack.
them. Yes. I mean, by the time of the military administration of the press center was built, a press center was named after him. All these international bodies wrote petitions, demanded
Yes,
Amnesty
Bagauda
International
Kalto.
that, what is disappearance and then later on is alleged killing should be investigated. Several years later, decades later, somebody has just come up to say he was a witness to that. I feel that he ought to have been arrested, by now, as a witness, for the state, because one of the demands we are saying is that let us go back to investigate this killing. That was the recommendation of the Oputa panel. He had probably forgotten that this matter came up even at the Oputa panel much later when they were trying to look at human rights violations under the military. And one police officer, one Bill, had actually alleged that it was some personnel in the management of the news magazine and Tempo, and in fact, the lawyer, Mr. Femi Falana, that were responsible for the death of Bagauda. And to that extent, Femi Falana had to go to the Oputa panel sitting in Kano, where he examined the bill. And according to Femi Falana's account, even the DSS contradicted the evidence that Mahdi gave at that particular city. So you just come around and cause confusion, because my fear really is that if we don't really follow up on this matter and say that government must reopen this case, see whatever process you want to decide, it could be a judicial commission of inquiry, any form of legal something to unravel, so that he can come there, as a witness. Because now what we're saying is that this matter should now be reopened, because somebody has come to say, I knew about it all. But we also know that previous stories, previous narratives do not match what he has said. So let us have a reopening of this, because that could also help us with other unresolved murders of Nigerian journalists. So of course the man is a liar. But like I said, we can't just sweep it under the carpet and say, this, because he has said this, it has gone out there. I know that Bagauda's wife has also issued a statement. Like I said, constantly then we were making demands. Everybody was involved because of the way he died. And my worry about this too really is that, and I hope that this antics of his that you have shown the whole world would help to clear doubts, because I've also been at some discussions where even our own professional colleagues, journalists, editors were thinking, you see, what happened, and so that is the kind of danger of what he's doing, because the way he said it, and with the general belief by some that journalists are corrupt, so people just feel maybe it was because of the money, and it doesn't add up. In the course of our work, let us even assume that for whatever reason, Bagauda had encounters maybe with the public affairs from US or whatever. In the course of our work, we relate with public affairs section of some of these foreign embassies. When I was the chairman of NUJ, we had so many programs with them.
We go to USIS.
We go to, exactly, you go to USIS.
Every Tuesday.
Sometimes they recommend. So it cannot just make it. So on that basis, you can't just say, just because he was there. But to now say that he planted a bomb that killed him, when they also said that his body was burned beyond recognition.
Yes.
You remember
That's
you remember?
The police commissioner.
That was okay that time.
Let me quickly pick this call from Makodi.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello? Ayo.
Hello?
Hello? My name is Michael. I'm calling.
Okay, go ahead, please. Michael, go ahead. Is Michael there? Okay, Julie, please.
The police commissioner at the time, Umar Suleiman,
Exactly.
said the face was burnt beyond recognition, and that the smoke from the scene actually covered his face. His belly was ripped open, the belly of the bomber. The picture that they even claimed that they brought from the scene, when we, as staff of the news magazine, when we analyzed the picture, back then we said this was not Bagauda, because the lips of the person in that picture was much thicker than Bagauda's lips. It's just like for someone to bring a picture that appears to show that my lips were a lot thicker than it is now. Of course, people will know that this is not me. So we had already debunked that back then, for those of us who worked with him. And Bagauda, for no
And
reason,
you know him.
very well,
Of
very
course,
well,
I
very well.
mean,
We did many
we
stories
know him
together.
too. He
You know,
used to come around
he's
and
not
he
the sort
make
of
him
person who
introduce-
go and plant a bomb. You see, the idiocy even in Mahdi Shehu's story has already been exposed by Mahmoud Jega in his write-up. That look, you claim that Hanks was a CIA agent. A CIA agent will go to a press conference or something, or a conference or a symposium, and simply hand over a parcel bomb to somebody that he has never met before. He doesn't know. If America and Israel are the best in the world in terms of intelligence. In fact, America is number one in the world. There is no way that the FBI or the CIA will have an individual who will be so dumb as to carry a parcel bomb and take it to someone that he had never spoken to, that he did not know, and say, go and plant this inside that place because we want to embarrass Abacha. I mean, it doesn't add up. He also claimed that he met Hanks on December 21, 1995. But in reality, the bomb happened on January 18, 1996. So he claimed that he met him just before the bomb went off. But look at the date that he's claiming in that interview, December 21. The bomb blast happened in December 21, the bomb blast happened in January 18, 1996, 28 days after he claimed to have met Hanks. There are so many things that this fellow has said that, look, and given his record, he is not someone that you can believe, because he is full of lies. Part of what they are trying him for is forgery. A man who can sit down and draw up a table and put dates to the point that, on the 13th of August 2018, they withdrew 780,150,000 for COVID.
Maybe we should say
in 2018, when in after COVID had not happened, not even in China.
I think it's a creative liar, and because you see my worry and why I feel that we really need to be on top of this matter, and I must commend you, TVC, for coming up with this, is that you really never know what anybody is up to. Because we don't want a situation where something will happen to you. And people will just say, well, that was how they said it was the government that killed Bagauda, whereas it was money that he went to collect, from someone. It's really, exactly. So we have to be very, very, careful. Otherwise, this would really make it difficult for us. Because if anything happens to any journalist, they will say, have you forgotten the other one? Maybe they have gone to. It's so malicious, the allegations that he's raising against somebody who is there. And he's been clever by half, because like Jide said, he knows that many of the witnesses he's mentioning are no longer around. But fortunately, we still have some of the elements who were involved, they are still around. And even if they are not around, it's so good that this is happening, and there's no reason why this case cannot be reopened, because it's now a matter of public interest. The wife has spoken, the colleagues have spoken, those of us who are in the leadership of the NUJ, then we've spoken. And it will be good for us to revisit, these, to know what exactly.
Okay, Mojid Jami is still with us. Mojid, what do you make of this allegation by Mahdi Shehu?
Yes. Yeah, I read the account by Mahmoud Jega, a non-journalist, and that of Waila Kemfa, as well as the statements by the management of the news magazine. And also I've read several reports after this Mahdi Shehu character, gave that interview on Arise Television. And at times I want to even call to question our colleagues, the kind of characters they bring for interviews, and we need to critically analyze what they tell us and query them further. because, like Mr. Alani already said, if we just dismiss this and say this guy is not a serious character, I mean, something else will happen tomorrow, and they'll start saying that, and those journalists, they have gone there to collect money. Well, I mean, it's good what happened to him. Now, they called that on 7th of April 1998, when the wife of the late Kaltho was arrested in Gombe. They brought her to Lagos. That was April 7, 1998. That's 2 years after the event. Was arrested in Gombe after they got her address from the managing director of the news then, now Senator Babafemi Ojudu. They brought her to Lagos, tortured her, and they wanted her to pin down the management of the news as the murderers of her husband. They were luring her with, all sorts of things. I mean, they promised her money for her to say that the management of the news used her husband for money ritual. That was in 1998. So how come this Mahdi Shehu character is coming in 2022, 27 or 28 years after this incident to come and shape this kind of narrative is what I don't understand. Well, I think the point we need to drive home to viewers and to Nigerians is the fact that Mahdi Shehu, who claims to be an opinion shaper, an activist, somebody who has the conscience of the people, who is an anti-corruption crusader, owns Dialogue Pharmacy in Kaduna, where he got most of those things he used to feign that illness, which I pray that God will not allow those illness to be real with him. Because I don't know to what extent a man can go to want to deceive people, or to want to to want to say that a government is corrupt, and you now, imagine the way he was, how long it took them to bring him to court, the way he was saying that he was in pain and stuff like that. For the same man, not knowing that the camera had been planted in his room, for the same man to stand up and be leading prayers. For those of us who pray, we know the effort it takes you to do sujud, as in bending down and going. So if you have backache, you cannot do it. So we should let all Nigerians know that this guy is a shameless liar, and that is a character that can never be taken serious. And I think we should advise governments to call him to question so that he can defend all these things he's saying. We can't just allow this to go. I think this case should be reopened and call Mahdi Shehu to come and tell us, all these dates that are conflicting, that he's giving. Because, see, he is heading somewhere and is preparing a grant. I suspect that he's trying to link Bagauda Kalto to some leaders in Nadeko as we are getting close to 2023. It's not just, we shouldn't just treat this as a mere coincidence that this is happening at this time. Why wait till now? People contested elections in 2011, in 2015, in 2019. How come it is, and he was alive, he was in Nigeria then, his anti-corruption crusade didn't deem it fit to him then to bring it to limelight? How come it is in 2023 that he suddenly woke up to bring this to limelight? These are issues.
I have Michael from Benue State. Michael, thank you for joining us. Hello, Michael. Okay, so Jide, moving forward now, because according to what Larry said earlier, not to destroy the good memory of this journalist, because it might just something that this man is trying to rewrite history. What do you want to be done now?
No, it's about my own goal is to let Nigerians know that they are dealing with a compulsive liar. You know, a compulsive liar wakes up, the first thing on his mind is to lie. That's the way I see this fellow. He has no honor. A man who, it took them about 1 hour to take him from the bus that brought him to court into the courtroom. And he knew all along that he was lying. He's a dramatist. He should be hanging out with Ali Nuhu and other people in Kannywood. He will make a very good actor.
Should be taken serious.
Instead of deceiving himself that he's an anti-corruption crusader, when even honesty, trustworthiness you do not have, how can you battle corruption? You are already, you have a big moral baggage. So how can a person who has a big moral baggage actually function as an anti-corruption crusader? Who will believe you? If you can sit down and forge documents saying government moved so amount of money, government bought 12 phones at 49 million when it was just 2.1 million that they sent, and you even had the guts to do a table, in some cases putting dates, things that you knew in your heart did not exist, saying they spent money during COVID, whereas your own COVID period was actually 2018. Functioning more or less like an illiterate. Because who does not know when COVID happened? But you see, when you think that you are clever, it takes something little to expose your lack of
stupidity.
Yes.
Stupidity.
It takes something little. Now look at it. It's not easy to look at. Even when the day that he claimed that he said he met Hanks on the day the bomb went off. It turned out that his date did not match the date that that bomb actually happened. That's 28 days difference. So this person is lying, but you know some people, when they are watching TV, Nigerians don't ask the right questions. And the memory of our people is short, because some people showed on social media, this same video was posted and people were asking whether it was the Accountant General of the Federation.
Because there are many in that category.
Yes, they felt they claimed that they brought him to court and he appeared in this manner. But it's not the Accountant General, for God's sake. It's Mahdi Shehu. It's Mahdi Shehu that is showing the people at Kannywood that is better than them at acting. We asked for investigation. See, Bagauda Kalto, let me tell you, as somebody who worked closely with him, he would be giving me points I will be writing. He doesn't like writing long stuff like cover stories and all that. But whenever we are together, we say, Jide, it's you who write this. But in terms of gist, he's probably the best journalist that I've ever encountered. In terms of knowledge of what's going on, and he will give you those gists and you will discover that they are true. And they were looking for us. Some of us are lucky to be alive.
Information.
Yes, they were lucky. Some of us are lucky to be alive. Bagauda, when he was transferred, he said, they told me to leave Kaduna and go to Abuja. They will kill me in this Abuja.
Wow.
The day he told me this was the day we came to Lagos. And we met the Obasa, GM, and he said, Jide, you are still here. Are you not aware that they came to our office at Tejumola House? They wanted to arrest you for the cover story that you did on the coup. You better leave this place. I said, okay, before we leave, at least you will give me money. Bagauda was beside me. So he said, I've been transferred. They will kill me where they are taking me to. I said, even in Kaduna, you are not safe.
As if he's foresaw it.
Yes, if just felt, where do I go now? But invariably, they got him and killed him in mysterious circumstances. It is the story of his death that a discredited actor is trying to rewrite now. Because this guy has a better talent than all the rubbish that is writing all over the place. He should go and meet Ali Nuhu and others. They would then incorporate him into their Actors Guild. And he can give us acting the way, just the way that we've seen him sitting down by himself. Somebody said, my neck has been broken, my back has been broken. He was calling international community, calling everybody. But see him
Can
leading
he pray
prayers.
with the bad spinal cord? Can he even attempt
If your back has been broken, can you lead
like that?
congregational prayers?
It's not possible. Larry, journalists that time. Okay, let me quickly pick this call. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Go ahead, please. Ikene?
This is Ekene calling from Newi. Hello?
We can hear you, Ekene.
Okay, Baba Jide, you are welcome. You are welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody in the studio. Happy Sunday to you all.
Thank you.
You see what is happening in this country. These are some of the things why Nigeria cannot move forward. What do we need again to nail this man? What do we need? Do we still need to investigate? Do we still need to investigate him when everything is already clear? These are the corruption that we are talking about in this country called Nigeria. How can you say that you are fighting corruption and you are the head of the corruption, playing all this game to deceive the whole world, to deceive the whole country? And you want people to believe you when you speak? These are the things. We need to, the Nigerian government need to look into this matter very well. And another,
I think the DSS have
Yeah.
to go and get this guy to get more facts.
get
Because
more.
even the government of that time, it took them 2 years. They were trying to find a way to explain what happened. It was 2 years after that they organized a press conference to say, okay, this is how this fellow died, this is the person. I'm referring to the press conference that Zachary Biu, who was head of the anti-terrorism squad at that time,
yes.
held.
How can
If
2
it took
years
them
after?
2 years, now if it took them 2 years to come up with their nonsensical story that Bagauda Kalto was the one who planted the bomb, and someone will say that the same day that the bombing happened, he had spoken to people in government. So if he had spoken to them, that means they knew who the killer was on the day that it happened. Why would they then have to wait until 2 years after to say, okay, these were the circumstances in which that person died inside Durbar? We have already explained. Anybody who knew Bagauda, once you looked at that picture that Zachary Biu presented, we easily dismiss it that this is not Bagauda Kalto.
Okay. Welcome back. This is Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Larry, when you look at journalists at that time, journalists were like endangered species. And even till the advent of democracy, I still remember some weeks I still had to call you when I was told that Larry Arugundade had been arrested at the international airport. And I started making calls just to discover that it was Larry Arugundade's name that has been on the profile of these guys since the time of the military struggle. Tell us about that experience, journalists, those days.
Well, it's I think it was a military era, and I also think it dates back to when we were in the universities as student union leaders. And apparently it shows that there is, so when in government sometimes they would, what the previous administration had done, they will abandon it. But I think that when it comes to watch lists or following journalists, human rights activists, trade unionists, and so on, there's continuity in government. Because when I was first arrested, they were called NSO then, Nigerian Security Organization.
NSO then.
So you wonder, so it means the record didn't go with NSO, then SSS, and then
And
DSS, inherited it. And anytime you were traveling, and not only me, many activists of that period, I don't know if Dele has also had similar experience. They will stop you at the airport, they will ask you questions, they want to know where you are going and so on. Then sometimes they will delay you until you're almost missing your flight. But when it got to the point where I was now asked to follow them to the DSS
Years
office,
after.
years after, and I felt, well, it was time to cry out again. And I think the response from Nigerians, from the media, really embarrassed them. It was when the delegation of because what they said then was that, it was a mistaken identity, that this didn't happen, but they didn't explain. But when the delegation of the International Press Institute,
IPS.
Nigeria, IPI, Nigeria, led by Muskili Mojid, he's a Nigerian president. They've been having engagement with, the security agents who ask questions. What exactly is your problem with the media? Then my issue came up. That was when they said, he had been on watch list for about 38 years. For this kind of and then they promised him then that the name will be removed, from the watch list. But it's just not for me. I think it's for all of us, for all journalists, for all activists, and I feel we have a duty to demand that the fact that you're an activist, you are pro-democracy activist, you are fighting for a better society based on your own conviction, based on your own ideology, should not warrant you being put on watch list by government and constant harassment at the point of entry and exit. Well, some people who work with security agents have said it happens everywhere, that even in other countries and so
terminating the journalist's life.
But the truth of the matter is that if we look at what is happening here, we still remain endangered as far as this profession is concerned. And my worry is that we are not only facing threats, the usual threats, so to say, the problems with security agents, the police, and so on, but even from those we call hoodlums. Look at what happened to this station during the NSAS movement. To the best of my knowledge, it was the first time that such a thing was happening. It's not as if we've not had riots in Nigeria. We had anti-SAP riots in 1989. I was just about 2 years old in the profession then, working for the Republic newspapers. It was a very violent protest. People, pulled things, they blocked road and whatever. And even though I wasn't a known journalist, so to say then, I was just an ordinary features writer, I could still move around Lagos in my B2 car. The moment you tell the mob that, I'm a journalist, I work for Republic, they even create way for you. But now we had NSAS and they came and attacked a whole, and we're still living with all kinds of, problems in our society. So it calls for deep, introspection, deep reflection, and further discussion and engagement about what is really happening to us. Why do we still have many journalists still be detained? The other time, a journalist working for Vanguard in Abuja, died in mysterious circumstances, and the whole story. So that's why I was saying that. I agree with him. Yes, Mahdi qualifies for, is a comedian and so on, but
it could have
it could also have, its reasons. I mean, a man who runs a tasketa in the wood, may not be a lunatic if he's not being pursued. If he's not after something, maybe he's also being pursued. So there must be something, and I feel that whether in terms of what we experienced in the past and what we are facing now, the starting point now is that there's a reason to reopen this case. I don't know what the legal procedure will be. I mean, we are calling on government to reopen. Perhaps some of the institutions involved could also do a formal petition. That's the only way, exactly. Exactly. A real, a trial that is open to the public, that people can watch live, maybe a judicial commission, so that the kind of lies that we have said
his life was just terminated
can
like
be
that.
really, really exposed and documented.
Yes.
So that
I think that if the
posterity,
Oputa panel had legal backing,
Honestly.
okay,
we will have found a solution to some of those problems.
Those
But
serious cases.
some of the people invited stayed away because it didn't have legal
Some
backing.
went to court to
Yes.
go and even.
Like, in my view, if it had legal backing, anyone summoned by it would have to appear.
Yes, unless you be arrested.
Some of the people who may have played a part in the murder of Bagauda, some of them would probably have been arrested. Some revelations will have come out
Yes, till today.
the panel.
The one of Dele Giwa is
Bagauda
still a
was
mystery.
very, very chummy with security operatives. In fact, at that time, through him, if they were coming to seize copies of our magazine, we would know. And they were giving him a lot of gist, you know. So for gist, Bagauda could get to the point of telling you who wrote a particular speech of the president. He was that effective within the security cycle. And when he had problems with them over a story that I did, when he had problems with them, I knew that trouble had come. Because these were people who not only protected him as a friend,
but scoops.
Yeah, were also giving him scoops that made him a star within the company. So when your old friends
turn against you,
you know it's difficult to know where to run to. I know that was a problem. And there's no way that if his death is thoroughly investigated, that we would not discover that security operatives arrested him and tortured him to death. We will be able to find that out. People like Zachary Bill, for example, some of the people who work with them will probably be able to give information about, okay, what went on during that time. He came to the news and just arrested some of our men and took them into captivity, put them in detention. The harassment was just too much at that time during the Abacha era. And some of us
constant raid. It was so bad. I mean, when they were looking for Dapo Olorunyomi and they had managed to escape, they arrested the wife with, I think the son was about 3 months old then and whatever. It was, in fact, every day was like, all we were doing it has happened that, the news, the local chapter then.
There was a time I had to go and hide in Jos for 3 months. Just hiding. They had to do a new ID card for me that did not reflect my name, and I was hiding in Jos. You can't stay in Kano. You came to my office. They came to arrest me, but I was lucky. I was not in the office. It was my secretary that they met. In fact, on that day that they could have picked me up, because Laiwola Adeniji, after the proscription of the Guardian, came to work with me in Kano. Once Laiwola heard that they had come to the office earlier, though he was not the person that they wanted, it was me. He was not ready to take that risk. He just left Kano left for Lagos, and he never returned to his job.
Ended up in jail.
Yes,
for something.
For a story that I wrote.
For a story that I wrote.
You wrote that story?
Yeah, I anchored the story. He was the editor. So once they got to our office in Tajumala House, and I was not there, they went to our second office. That one was that's where you have Sweet Sensation in Ogba now. That was where they picked up
26
That was where they picked up Kunle Ajibade.
And it was not only journalists that were arrested, even administrative staff.
Even Liberians.
Remember, we
they would just lock people up.
Because that's why I'm saying that all these things that this man is saying, this was something that really, really attracted international, attention. Because the way they were picking them. And of course,
some of our people fled abroad.
At a stage, they had to then decide, let's practice underground guerrilla journalism. But it was so difficult to. Bayo Ononuga, on one occasion, they came, they wanted to pick it. I think he just quickly sat where maybe the gate man or so would normally sit, and then they said, we are looking for.
No, even there is a press that we use here in Lagos. Then they came, they wanted to, they were raiding that press. As soon as they got inside, Baba Femi Ojudu grabbed an apron of a printer and put on that apron. So you will not know that.
You think it's a printer?
Yes.
All right.
It was a printer.
All right.